They come every fall, and they were at our house for dinner. And we knew I'd been wanting to go back since I'd been in Haiti in November of 17. And we had decided to go. Jeff and I had been wanting to do a missionary trip as a family, and it just hadn't worked out, and this was a good fit for the boys to be able to go on, and they were getting to an age where we felt we were comfortable with that. We met with Angela and Gama over dinner, and were just having conversation, and they had asked us, what kind of trip do you want to do? Because you can do just a VBS, there's lots of different things. And I was like, I'd love to do a house building trip. So they were like, well, would you like to build a house for David? And I'm gonna cry now. It was just something I hadn't expected. So very much after us sponsoring him for months and having met him, having seen his house, and I said to her, but don't you have a waiting list of families who need homes? She said, yes, we do, but if you're coming to Haiti and you sponsor a child, we want you to do something for your child, because they very much want that relationship. So I had seen the state of his home, and like she said, it basically just needs to be torn down, and that was an understatement. This is one of the benefits of sponsoring a child is that you don't just sponsor the child, you sponsor the family. So this is all of his siblings. There's 7 of them. They lived in the house alone. The parents do not live in the house with them. They live up in the mountains because they do some type of farming. I'm not sure what they do, and then they go to market and sell it wherever is closest for them. So the kids are there, and there's this little family compound, and there's grandma's house, and then he has an aunt and an uncle in one house and an aunt and uncle in another house, and they all kind of help take care of the kids. So it's this little family compound, or they call it Grandma's Village, because Grandma kind of oversees everybody. So this is actually after our dedication. And while we were building his house, their house, I had said to Gama, I'm like, these other families all have concrete houses. Do they feel like we did less than for them because we're building a wood house? And he was like, no, that is American thinking. And it was just a curiosity question, because I knew that this house was more than just one step up. It was probably 2 or 3 steps up from what they lived in before. And so this is them after we did the dedication, the kids. I happened to walk in, and I found them all in the corner, and they're all just smiling and happy and just excited to be in the house. There's nothing in the house but a bed yet, but they were extremely excited and grateful. That was one thing that we really saw, the level of gratitude. So I was saying, when you sponsor a kid, you're also sponsoring the family. There's opportunities through the year to give the family food packages. This is what we gave them at the dedication. There's charcoal, there's a little grill, rice, beans, some seasonings, onions, and whatnot. Let's see. So in March, building the house was one of the other benefits of helping the family through sponsorship. And in March, I got to FaceTime and tell them myself. Angela had messaged me and said, can we FaceTime with you? I have David and Weedna at the house. His sister understands some English. She's taking some English. And so as I spoke, she immediately understood what I said when I said, we're coming to Haiti and we're going to build a house for your family. And she was just elated. And once Angela translated for David, he had big smiles on his face as well. In building the house, it's not just us going and doing all the work. The family had to participate before we arrived. They had Tree of Hope brought them 2 55-gallon drums, which they had to go and fill with water. They had to collect rocks and then some gravel, and then Tree of Hope had delivered sand, and they had to take the sand and help fill the area in to level it off before the Haitian workers came and poured the concrete slab. With sponsorship, like with my sponsoring, one of the other things Tree of Hope does is, as I said, the Christmas package, which that's him there with it, which was the picture at the beginning, and they get 2 live chickens. And for them, the chickens, or the goat that we gave them at the dedication, is they'll keep it and use it for meat later. Generally, they don't have meat with a meal unless it's a special occasion. They will use the goat in the same way, or they might use it for bartering. If there's something they need to buy or whatnot, they might use it. Another thing Tree of Hope does is every month there's a birthday party for whatever children have a birthday that month. So that's something that they try to do for the kids. Give them, through donations, they give little gifts. The major part of sponsoring a child in Haiti is that they get to go to school. There's no public school system. If they're not going to school, the only meal they probably eat is at dinner, later at night. So this is a little boy at school. They kind of bring their own containers, and then they are served lunch. The other benefit of being in school and sponsored, it's Christian school as well. That's that school that Tree of Hope sends all their sponsored kids to, is a Christian school. And it's right at the bottom of the hill where they're located. The other benefits are that the kids receive free dental care, and while they're in school they get free medical care. And the medical care is consultation, being seen, and free medicine. If medicine is needed, they get that all for free by being sponsored. When it's back to school time, Tree of Hope has done drives, and they supply all the kids with backpacks and water bottles, notebooks, things like that they might need for school. But for Haiti, there's no mail system, so the only way to get things to Haiti is through missionaries. So when we went, we brought lots of supplies. There were people who donated different things. I know Tony had done washcloths, and there were some people who did maple syrup and ranch dressing and a bunch of other stuff to get into the country. But I know I brought some backpacks and whatnot for kids as well. So every now and then they ship barrels down, because that's the only way to get things there, between barrels and missionaries. This book was recommended to me before the first trip I went to Haiti. It's called Before You Go, and it's 40 days of devotions before you go on a short-term mission trip. And it was amazing. And there are many things that did not apply to our situation. There are so many things that could be applied. And the biggest thing, several of us read it. I know Susanna had gotten the book, and a couple of us read it, or had read it. Jeff and Tyler had read it before. And one of the biggest devotions that was in that book that struck me was, why go? Why not just send the money? The nationals can do more with the money. They can take that money and use it more. And then the why, the biggest part of the why for us was, or for any situation, is without going, you don't really develop relationship. You have to go, and we also have the Great Commission, go and make disciples. So that was a big part of it. I have some very ugly cry pictures here. This is David. I'm going to cry again. This is David's dad. And when I went, I had hoped to get to meet his parents. Like I said, they're up in the mountains. And we're there on the work site the first day, and Angela's like, I have a surprise for you. And she's like, this is Papa. And it caught me off guard, and I was just full of emotion. It was just so many things, and his thankfulness of having somebody pour into his child. And there's so, like I said, with the family, the whole family benefits, there's so many things. And so this was one of my favorite pictures, just with Dad and Dad kind of connecting and meeting. And that's both Mom and I were crying. Mom and I both started crying when Angela came out a few minutes later. One thing, Haitian culture, they don't offer you information unless you ask the question. And we didn't ask, is Mom here? So Mom appeared probably about a half hour later. And she had been sleeping because for them to come home for this dedication, they had started walking from the mountains around 6 o'clock the night before and walked through the night to get home and got there that morning. And we didn't know it at the time. When we got there with supplies, Dad was the first one out of the gate of Grandma's village to help us unload. We didn't know who he was at the time, but he was the first one there. Every day he was out there helping us unload supplies, and then would watch us for quite some time. So talking about relationship, one thing with relationship was I had opportunity to have coffee with Mom. And that was probably one of my favorite memories of this whole trip. That Susanna and I went around the side of the house to see what she was cooking. And we sat there watching, and she was making coffee and watching. And then she offered me a cup of coffee. And I knew, don't eat anything off Tree of Hope site. Don't eat anything, don't drink anything. And I'm like, oh no. And Susanna and I are looking at each other like, do we drink it? We don't know. And So I just said Susanna doesn't drink coffee, and I saved her. And I was like, the water's boiling. I think it's going to be okay. I don't know where they got the water. But she offered me this porcelain cup, and I think she had only one or two really fancy cups. And it was a really nice cup, and then everybody sat and waited while I drank the coffee. So I had to drink the coffee because everybody was waiting for me, and nobody else was doing anything. And after I drank it, then all of the kids had a little bit of coffee and a piece of bread for lunch. So that was a special moment to get to share with Mom. So one of in 2017 when I was there, I was standing on the porch with Gama, and we were looking out over the pavilion area, and there were kids playing. And he said to me, I used to be one of them. I was them. It took me 3 times to pass 3rd grade. It took me, I wouldn't be where I am if I hadn't been sponsored. And the words from his own mouth, and it had really just touched me and moved me, and I had already decided to sponsor David before that. But hearing that from him really changed my view of some different things with sponsoring David, and how it makes a difference. They get to go to school, but they're in the mountains because their parents are uneducated and poor. They're expected to go to school and do well, but they don't even have breakfast. And if it rains, they might have slept on a concrete floor in somebody else's house the night before. They don't have anybody to help them with their homework because their parents can't read and help them. And everything in Haiti is by memorization, so it's difficult for them. For some students, they don't learn that way. But this is a boy, Benji, and he's 20 years old, right? He was 20. He was one of our teenage interpreters in the afternoons when we did VBS. And I had the opportunity to spend a lot of time with him when we would take community walks at night, and just different opportunities to really ask questions and understand the culture, and to kind of develop a relationship with him. And just one day we were walking, and I asked him, have you ever met your sponsor? And he's like, no, and his face lit up, but I hope I can someday. And that was the thing for Gama, that part of why he runs the ministry the way he does is he wants these kids to have relationship. He wants people to come to Haiti. He wants, even when we were on the site and the Haitian workers were doing some things and we're waiting for them so we can be able to help them, we felt bad that we're not working, but yet their work enabled us to be able to sit with the kids, to sit with the parents, to spend time and just develop relationships. And that is, a primary thing for Gama within that. I was saying to a couple people that at the dedication I didn't expect to have to speak. I thought Gama was just going to pray and that would be it. So when he asked me to speak, I wasn't sure I could at first because it had been such an emotional week. And as I stood there, I was just overcome thinking that there's the 9 of us are standing there with his family, plus Angela and Gama and their daughter. But it wasn't just the 9 of us that made that happen. And to be able to tell them that there's so many people at home that helped us build this house for them, that between supporting Nathan and Susanna, between making donations of goods, buying ornaments when I sold ornaments last fall that were from Haiti, there's so many ways many, many people helped make this happen. And we just really appreciate that, to be able to do that for David and his family. It wasn't just us. And this picture for me is kind of, like I was saying, kind of sums it up for me, that it's about relationship. It's, going is about building that relationship with them and pouring into them. And it was just an amazing opportunity and very different than my first trip. Partly, I think, because I got to share it with my sons and my husband, but also having, Nathan and Susanna along, and just many different aspects to it. So. Jeff is going to speak next. Yes, you are.